The council chamber was filled with worried voices. Ambassador Jakara stood in the center of the massive hall, her forearms trembling slightly as she waited for silence. Around her, representatives from dozens of species whispered and argued. The holographic display above them showed the same terrible image over and over. The peaceful colony world of Theta 7, now surrounded by dark, hostile ships. Please, honored members, Jakara said, her voice breaking the noise. We must act now. The Valerian colonists have less than 72 hours before the pirates begin executing hostages. Counselor Vrexton, a large reptilian creature with scales that shimmered purple under the lights, shook his head. Our nearest peacekeeping fleet is 3 weeks away. There is nothing we can do. The Valerians must negotiate with the Krovic swarm. Negotiate? Jakara's voice rose in anger. These pirates don't negotiate. They take what they want and kill anyone who resists. 5,000 colonists, including children, are trapped down there. We cannot abandon them. The murmuring grew louder. Everyone knew she was right, but no one had a solution. The Krovic swarm was not just a few raiders. Intelligence reports showed 40 warships surrounding the colony. It was a full armada, led by the notorious pirate Lord Vexenar himself. Then what do you suggest? Another counselor asked. We have no forces close enough to help. Jakara took a deep breath. She had been dreading this moment, but she saw no other choice. There is one option, one group close enough to respond in time. The chamber went silent. Jakara pulled up a new display. It showed a small yellow star in what the council called the Forbidden Zone. Next to it were the words, Sol System. Homeworld Earth. Classification, restricted contact. Several counselors made sounds of shock or fear. One actually backed away from the display. You cannot be serious, Vrexton said, his voice low and dangerous. They are Deathworlders. They are people, Jakara corrected. People with fast ships and strong weapons. People who might help us? Vrexton laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Or might decide to conquer us themselves. Have you forgotten the reports? Their world is a death trap. Crushing gravity. Deadly weather. Creatures that hunt in packs. And the humans themselves? He brought up images on his own display. They have redundant organs. Their bodies heal from wounds that would kill any of us. They consume poison for pleasure. They keep predators as pets in their homes. I have read the reports, Jakara said calmly. I have read all of them. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they come from a nightmare world. But I have also read their history. Do you know what I found? She did not wait for an answer. I found that when disaster strikes, humans run toward danger, not away from it. They have people called firefighters who enter burning buildings to save strangers. They have people called lifeguards who risk drowning to pull others from water. They have a saying, no one gets left behind. If we ask for their help, I believe they will come. And if you are wrong? Vrexton asked. If we invite monsters to our door? Jakara met his eyes. Then we were doomed anyway. But if I am right, we might save 5,000 lives. The vote was close. Some counselors refused to participate, too afraid to even consider contact with humanity. But in the end, fear for the Valerian colonists won over fear of the unknown. Jakara was authorized to send a distress signal to Earth. She sat alone in the communications chamber, composing the message. How did you ask monsters for help? She decided to be simple and direct. To the people of Earth, this is Ambassador Jakara of the Galactic Council. We require immediate assistance. The Valerian colony on Theta 7 is under attack by a hostile force. 5,000 civilians are in danger. Our nearest forces cannot arrive in time. We request your help. Please respond. She attached the coordinates and situation details, then transmitted the message toward the Sol system. The communication would take hours to reach Earth, and then more hours for any response to return, if they responded at all. Jakara sat back and waited. On Theta 7, the situation grew worse. Pirate Lord Vexenar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the colonists below through his view screen. The Valerians were a peaceful species with soft fur and large, gentle eyes. They had no military, no weapons, nothing but farming equipment and scientific instruments. Perfect prey, Vexenar said to his first officer. Send another message. Tell them we want triple the original payment or we start killing one hostage every hour instead of waiting 3 days. My lord, the first officer said nervously, I am detecting a strange transmission from the colony. They have sent a message toward the Forbidden Zone. The Forbidden Zone? Vexenar laughed. Let them cry to empty space. No one will help them. No one is foolish enough to challenge the Krovic swarm. But in the colony below, the Valerians who had sent that message now whispered among themselves. Some had heard stories about the Forbidden Zone, about a species so dangerous that the Council had quarantined their entire sector of space. "Do you think they will come?" a young Valerian asked her mother. "I do not know," her mother answered honestly. "But if the stories are true, we should be careful what we wish for." Back on the Council station, Jakara had fallen asleep at her desk when the alarm woke her. She jumped up confused. The communication system was receiving a response, but that was impossible. She had only sent the message 6 hours ago. Even traveling at the fastest possible speed, a response should take at least 40 hours. With shaking hands, she opened the message. The face on the screen was human. Jakara recognized the features from the first contact reports. Bilateral symmetry, forward-facing predator eyes, flat face with minimal fur. But the reports had not mentioned how those eyes could look both fierce and kind at the same time. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Command," the human said. Her voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. "We have received your distress call and reviewed the situation. A rapid response fleet is already in motion. We will arrive at Theta 7 in approximately 36 hours. Tell the colonists to hold their position and stay away from windows during the engagement. We are coming to help. Chen out," the message ended. Jakara stared at the blank screen, her mind struggling to process what she had just heard. 36 hours? That was impossible. The distance from Earth to Theta 7 was enormous. Even Council ships at maximum speed would need 3 days. And the humans claimed they were already in motion? She quickly did the calculations and felt her blood turn cold. To arrive in 36 hours, the human ships would need to be traveling at speeds that should tear any vessel apart. They would need to navigate through the Kelvin asteroid field, which was considered too dangerous for any ship to cross. Either the humans were lying or they were completely insane. Or perhaps, Jakara thought, they were exactly what the galaxy needed, right now. She immediately forwarded the message to the Council and to Theta 7. Then she sat back and wondered what she had unleashed upon the galaxy on Theta 7. The Valerians received the message with mixed feelings. Help was coming, but that help wore the face of creatures from a nightmare world. Some colonists prayed for rescue. Others prayed that the humans would never arrive. In the depths of space, 6 destroyers, 3 carriers, and 2 heavy cruisers burned through the void at speeds that would have terrified any other species. Inside those ships, human crews prepared for battle with the calm efficiency of people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The countdown had begun. The Deathworlders were coming. 3 months earlier, the Galactic Council had encountered humanity for the first time. It was supposed to be a routine survey mission. A Council exploration ship had detected unusual energy, signatures coming from a small yellow star, and went to investigate. What they found changed everything. The third planet from that star was like something from a horror story. The survey team's report had caused panic in the Council chambers. They called it a Class 12 death world, the highest danger classification possible. The planet's gravity was nearly twice what most species considered normal. Its atmosphere was thick with oxygen, a highly reactive gas that would corrode most ships not properly shielded. The weather systems were violent beyond measure, with storms that could level cities and temperature ranges that swung from freezing to boiling. But the truly terrifying part was the life itself. Every ecosystem on Earth was a battlefield. Creatures did not just compete for resources. They hunted each other with sophisticated weapons built into their bodies. Venom, claws, teeth designed to tear through flesh. Some creatures hunted in packs with coordinated strategies. Others were so deadly that a single individual could take down prey 10 times their size. And somehow, impossibly, one species had risen to dominance in this nightmare. They called themselves humans. The biological reports on humans had made several Council scientists physically ill. Humans had evolved every survival trait their planet could throw at them. Their bones were reinforced with calcium deposits that could withstand impacts that would shatter most species' skeletons. Their muscles were dense and powerful, built to function under crushing gravity. Their skin could repair itself from cuts and burns. They had backup organs. If one kidney or lung failed, they had another. But that was just the beginning. Humans had something called an immune system that was constantly at war with invisible invaders. Their blood would thicken and clot to prevent death from cuts. If they broke a bone, it would actually grow back stronger than before. They could survive losing significant portions of their blood, could function with severe injuries that would send other species into fatal shock. And their senses, those were predator senses. Eyes positioned at the front of their head for depth perception and tracking prey. Exceptional spatial awareness. The ability to track movement across vast distances. Some humans even had the ability to detect the emotional states of others through something called body language. The Council had wanted to quarantine Earth immediately. But then the humans had activated their communication systems and sent a simple message. Hello, we come in peace. The first diplomatic meetings had been tense. Council representatives had watched the humans carefully, expecting aggression at any moment. Instead, they found themselves confused by a bizarre contradiction. Yes, humans were warriors. Their history was filled with conflicts and battles. But it was also filled with something else, compassion. Humans would risk their lives to save complete strangers. They formed emotional bonds not just with their own kind, but with other species. They had actually domesticated some of their planet's predators and kept them as companions in their homes. They called these predators pets and treated them like family members. The Council did not know what to make of such strange creatures. So they had agreed to limited contact and asked the humans to stay in their own sector of space while everyone figured out what to do next. That was 3 months ago. Now Ambassador Jakara had invited those same strange creatures to enter Council space, and they were coming fast. Aboard the UNSC Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge and watched her crew prepare. Around her, men and women moved with practiced efficiency, checking systems and running diagnostics. They did not look like monsters. They looked like people doing their jobs. All ships report ready, Admiral, her first officer reported. We will reach the Kelvin asteroid field in 20 minutes. Chen nodded. Maintain current speed. All ships, stay in formation and trust your navigation systems. We have trained for this. In the hangar bay, Captain Marcus Webb walked among his Marines. They were checking their gear, loading their weapons, reviewing the mission parameters. Webb had fought in a dozen operations, but this was different. This was first contact under combat conditions. The galaxy would judge humanity by what happened in the next 2 days. Listen up, Webb said, and his Marines stopped to attention. We are going to rescue civilians from pirates. Those civilians are not human. They are called Valerians. They are smaller than us, weaker than us, and scared. When we go in there, we go in professional. No showing off. No excessive force. We get those people out safely and alive. Understood? Sir, yes, sir. The Marines responded in unison. Webb nodded. Good, one more thing. The galaxy thinks we are monsters from a nightmare world. Maybe we are. But we are going to show them that monsters can be heroes too. Get some rest. We deploy in 34 hours. On the Council station, Ambassador Jakara could not sleep. She kept watching the tracking data from the human fleet. They were actually doing it. They were crossing the Kelvin asteroid field at full speed, navigating through a maze of rocks that should tear their ships apart. She pulled up more files on humanity, reading everything she could find. The more she read, the more fascinated and frightened she became. Humans had something they called the overview effect. When they first saw their planet from space, instead of feeling pride or triumph, many humans reported feeling a deep emotional connection to their world and sadness at seeing its problems from above. They wanted to fix things to make them better. Humans had invented something called humanitarian aid. They would send help to other humans on the opposite side of their planet. People they had never met and would never see, just because those people needed help. Humans had a strange tendency to pack bond with almost anything. There were documented cases of humans forming emotional attachments to robots, to plants, even to rocks with faces drawn on them. They could not seem to help themselves. If something seemed alive or even potentially aware, humans would try to befriend it and protect it. Jakara found herself hoping desperately that this strange trait would extend to aliens. On Theta 7, Pirate Lord Vexnar was studying the same reports about humans. Unlike Jakara, he was not worried. He was amused. Deathworlders, he said to his officers. The Council is so scared of these creatures that they quarantined an entire sector of space. But look at these numbers. 11 ships. I have 40. Even if these humans are as dangerous as the reports say, we outnumber them 4-1. His first officer was not so confident. My lord, their approach vector takes them through the asteroid field. No sane commander would attempt such a route. Then they are either suicidal or arrogant, Vexnar said. Either way, they will die. Prepare the fleet. When these Deathworlders arrive, we will show them what happens to those who challenge the Krovik swarm. He opened a communication channel to the colony below. Attention, Valerian colonists. Your so-called rescuers are approaching. How thoughtful of you to bring me a new enemy to destroy. For this inconvenience, the price has gone up again. You now have 48 hours to pay, not 72. And when we destroy your human friends, we will add their ship components to your bill. He closed the channel and laughed. His crew laughed with him. The idea of being afraid of just 11 ships seemed absurd. But deep in the colony, some of the older Valerians did not laugh. They had lived long enough to learn an important lesson. When someone called monsters comes to help you, the monsters are not there for you. They are there for whoever made you call for help. The humans are coming, an elderly Valerian whispered to her granddaughter. May the universe have mercy on the pirates, because I do not think the Deathworlders will. The human fleet cleared the asteroid field with only minor shield impacts. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. Her people had trained in Earth orbit, dodging debris and satellites at high speed. An asteroid field was just a bigger version of home. 33 hours to target, her navigation officer reported. Maintain course, Chen said, and send a message to the pirates. Let them know we are coming. It is only polite to introduce ourselves before we destroy them. The countdown continued. Somewhere ahead, 5,000 scared colonists waited for salvation or doom. Behind them, the entire Galactic Council watched and wondered what they had unleashed. The Deathworlders were coming, and nothing would stop them. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Theta 7 system, exactly 36 hours after Admiral Chen's message. On the Indomitable's bridge, the view screen lit up with tactical data. 40 Krovik warships surrounded the planet in a loose blockade formation. They were not expecting serious resistance. All ships, battle formation Delta, Chen ordered calmly. Weapons hot, shields up. Communications, open a channel to the Krovik commander. The face that appeared on screen made several of Chen's crew members tense. Pirate Lord Vexnar looked like something from a nightmare. 6 eyes arranged around a circular head, a mouth full of jagged teeth, and skin that seemed to constantly shift between dark colors. So, the Deathworlders finally arrive, Vexnar said, his voice making a sound like rocks grinding together. I am almost disappointed. Only 11 ships? We could barely see you on our sensors. Perhaps you should go back to your quarantined little sector before you embarrass yourselves. Chen's expression did not change. Krovik forces, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons, release all hostages immediately, and prepare to be taken into custody. This is your only warning. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vexnar began to laugh. His crew joined in, and soon the entire Krovik fleet was broadcasting their amusement across all channels. Surrounded? Vexnar gasped between laughs. Deathworlder, you are outnumbered 4-1. You're 11 little ships against my armada. What makes you think you have any chance of victory? Chen leaned forward slightly, and her eyes went cold. Because you are thinking about this wrong. We did not bring a fleet to match yours. We brought a hunting pack to take down prey. Last chance, Vexnar. Surrender now. I think not, the Pirate Lord said, and cut the transmission. All ships destroy them. The Krovik armada opened fire. 40 ships unleashed a storm of plasma bolts and missiles at the human fleet. It was enough firepower to level a city, concentrated on just 11 targets. The humans did not run. They did not even slow down. Point defense systems activated across the human fleet, filling space with bullets moving at incredible speeds. The missiles never reached their targets. They were shredded by defensive fire before they could get close. The plasma bolts hit human shields and dispersed harmlessly. Ships designed to survive in Earth orbit, where radiation and debris were constant threats, barely noticed the attack. All ships, return fire, Chen said. Target their weapons systems first. Remember, we want prisoners for council justice. The human destroyers fired their main guns. Where the Krovik ships use plasma and energy weapons, humans use something much simpler. Solid slugs of metal accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed by electromagnetic rails. Railgun. Rounds did not care about shields designed to deflect energy weapons. They simply punched straight through. 3 Krovik ships lost their weapons in the first salvo. 2 more lost their engines. The pirate formation broke apart in confusion as ships scattered to avoid the devastating fire. "They are running," Chen's tactical officer reported. 12 ships breaking formation and attempting to flee. "Let them go," Chen ordered. "Focus on the ones still near the planet. We need to protect the colonists." Vexnar watched in disbelief as his armada fell apart. This was impossible. These humans were outnumbered, but they fought like demons. Their ships moved with impossible precision, dodging attacks that should have hit them, maneuvering with speeds and turns that would crush any normal crew. He did not know that human pilots trained in simulators that pushed them to their physical limits. He did not know that their ships had inertial dampeners specifically designed to let crews survive maneuvers at 9 times Earth's gravity. He did not understand that to humans, this was not extreme. This was just another day of training. "Target the colony," Vexnar screamed at his crew. "If we cannot have it, no one will." 4 Krovik ships turned their weapons toward Theta 7's surface. But before they could fire, 4 human destroyers positioned themselves between the pirates and the planet. The ships took the full force of the plasma bombardment on their shields, protecting the colonists below. "Shields at 60%, the Indomitable's shield officer reported. "We can hold this position." "Negative," Chen said. "Time to stop playing nice. All ships switch to lethal force. Take them down." The human fleet stopped holding back. Railguns fired continuously, tearing through Krovik hulls. Missiles launched from human carriers, guided by AI systems that had learned warfare from Earth's long history of conflict. Fighter craft deployed from the hangars, moving with a grace and speed that made them nearly impossible to target. In 15 minutes, half the Krovik armada was destroyed or disabled. The rest were either fleeing or trying desperately to surrender. But the battle in space was only half the mission. On the Indomitable's hangar deck, Captain Webb and his Marines loaded into drop pods. These were not elegant transport craft. They were armored shells designed to survive atmospheric entry at speeds that would burn up most ships. Only humans with their redundant organs and reinforced bones could survive such a brutal descent. "All teams, check your gear one last time," Webb said over the squad channel. "Remember, the hostages are scared. We go in fast, we go in hard, but we do not go in mean. Professional conduct at all times." "Ready on your mark, Captain," his team leaders replied. "Launch." 30 drop pods fired from the Indomitable like bullets from a gun. They streaked through Theta 7's atmosphere, trailing fire and smoke. Krovik. Sensors detected them but assumed they were missiles or bombs. No one would be crazy enough to enter atmosphere that fast with living crew inside. The pods hit the ground around the hostage compound with impacts that shook the earth. Hatches blew open, and Marines emerged in full combat armor. To the Valerian, hostages watching from windows, they looked like metal giants, each one nearly 7 feet tall in their powered suits. The Krovik guards at the compound did not even have time to raise their weapons. Flashbang grenades filled the corridors with blinding light and deafening sound. Breaching charges blew doors off their hinges. The Marines moved through the building, like a machine, each team covering the others, every corner checked, every threat neutralized. Inside the main holding area, 200 Valerian hostages huddled together in fear. They had heard the explosions and gunfire, but did not know who was winning. Then the main door exploded inward, and a human Marine stepped through. Captain Webb removed his helmet so they could see his face. He knew it was a risk, but he needed them to see that he was not a faceless machine. He was just a person who had come to help. "Attention, everyone," Webb said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "My name is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Nations Space Command. We are here to rescue you. Please remain calm and follow my team's instructions. We will have you out of here in 10 minutes. A young Valerian child, no more than 6 years old by human standards, stepped forward. Her large eyes were filled with tears, and she trembled as she looked up at the armored giant before her. Are you going to hurt us? She asked in a small voice. Webb knelt down so he was at her eye level. He reached into his belt pouch and pulled out a small chocolate bar, standard emergency rations. He offered it to her with a gentle smile. No, sweetheart. We are the good guys. The bad guys are the ones we just knocked down. Here, take this. It is called chocolate. It is pretty good. The child took the chocolate hesitantly, then bit into it. Her eyes went wide with surprise at the sweet taste. Then she smiled. Within minutes, all the hostages were being loaded onto human transport shuttles. The Marines had swept the entire compound, secured all the Krovik prisoners, and suffered 0 casualties. The operation had taken exactly 47 minutes from drop pod launch to final evacuation. In orbit above, the space battle had ended. 22 Krovik ships destroyed, 15 captured or disabled, 3 escaped into faster-than-light travel. The rest of Vexnar's armada was gone. Admiral Chen stood on her bridge and looked at the tactical display. Every hostage was safe. Every human crew member was accounted for. Some ships had damage, but nothing critical. It was, by military standards, a perfect operation. Communications. Send a message to the Galactic Council, Chen said. Tell them Theta 7 is secure. All hostages safe. No civilian casualties. Krovik swarm has been neutralized. We are standing by for further instructions. As the message was sent, Chen allowed herself a small smile. Somewhere out there, the entire galaxy was watching the combat footage. They had seen what humans could do when someone needed help. They had seen the Deathworlders in action. She wondered what they would think. Would they be more afraid than before? Or would they finally understand that humanity's greatest weapon was not their guns or their ships or their stubborn refusal to die? It was their inability to ignore someone calling for help. On Theta 7, in the transport shuttle heading to the human ships, the young Valerian child sat next to her mother. She still held the half-eaten chocolate bar in her small hands. She looked out the window at the armored Marines who had saved her. "Mama," she whispered. The monsters came, but they were not scary, they were nice. Her mother held her close and cried tears of relief. "Yes, my dear. Sometimes the scariest monsters turn out to be heroes." 2 days after the battle, the colony of Theta 7 was transformed. Human engineers had brought construction equipment and materials along with their warships. Now they worked alongside grateful Valerian colonists to repair the damage from the pirate occupation. The contrast was strange to see. Massive humans in work suits carefully handling delicate equipment, their powerful hands moving with surprising gentleness. Dr. Sarah Kim, one of the human medical officers, had set up a field hospital in the colony's central square. She moved from patient to patient, treating injuries that the Krovik pirates had inflicted during their 3-week occupation. The Valerians had been terrified of her at first. She was nearly twice their size with the predator features that marked all humans, but fear turned to trust when they saw how carefully she worked. "This will sting a little," Kim said to an elderly Valerian male as she cleaned a wound on his arm. Her translator device converted her words into the clicking, whistling language of the Valerians. But the antibacterial should prevent infection. The old Valerian watched her work with wide eyes. "You are so strong," he said quietly. "I saw you lift a support beam yesterday that took 4 of my people to move. Yet your hands are so gentle now. How?" Kim smiled as she wrapped a bandage around his arm. "We learned control. On Earth, everything is heavy because of our high gravity. We have to be strong just to move around. But we also have children and elderly people and pets that need gentle care. So we learn both. Strength when needed, gentleness when possible." "Your world sounds difficult," the Valerian said. "It is," Kim admitted, "but it taught us to take care of each other. When everything is trying to kill you, you learn that survival means protecting your community." Across the colony, Captain Webb walked with a group of Valerian children who had attached themselves to him like he was a celebrity. They asked endless questions about Earth, about humans, about everything. Webb answered patiently, amused by their curiosity. "Is it true you keep predators in your homes?" a young boy asked. "Sort of," Webb said. "We call them pets. Dogs and cats. They were predators thousands of years ago, but we domesticated them. Now they are companions. They live with us, play with us, sleep on our furniture." "Are they dangerous?" another child asked. Webb pulled out his personal tablet and showed them pictures of his dog, a large German shepherd named Rex. This is my dog. He looks scary, right? But he is the gentlest creature I know. He plays with my nephew, who is about your age. The little guy pulls Rex's ears and tail, and Rex just lies there and lets him do it. The children crowded around the tablet, fascinated. One little girl looked up at Webb with wonder. We thought you were monsters when you first arrived. But you are not monsters at all, are you? Webb knelt down so he was at her level. Well, we can be pretty scary when we need to be. Those pirates learned that. But scary and mean are not the same thing. We only get scary when someone is hurting people who cannot defend themselves. Meanwhile, in orbit, Ambassador Jakara had arrived on a council diplomatic ship. She requested permission to board the Indomitable, and Admiral Chen had agreed. Now Jakara stood on the human carrier's bridge, looking around in fascination. Everything was built on a larger scale than council ships. The gravity was heavier, she could feel it pulling at her. The air was thicker, richer in oxygen. Even the lighting was brighter, calibrated for eyes that had evolved under a more intense sun. It was uncomfortable, but Chen had offered to adjust the settings in the conference room where they would talk. Thank you for seeing me, Admiral, Jakara said as they walked through the corridors. Human crew members passed them, each one nodding respectfully but not stopping to stare. Jakara appreciated their professionalism. Thank you for trusting us with this mission, Chen replied. I know it was not an easy decision to contact us. They entered the conference room where the gravity had been reduced to galactic standard and the air adjusted to be more comfortable for Jakara. Chen gestured to a chair and they both sat. I must admit, Jakara began, I was terrified when I sent that distress call. The Council's reports on humanity made you sound like living weapons, and after watching the battle footage, I can see why. Your combat capabilities are extraordinary. Chen nodded. We are good at fighting. Our planet made sure of that, but fighting is not all we are good at. I have been watching your people work in the colony, Jakara said. Your engineers repair homes with the same efficiency your Marines use to clear the compound. Your medics care for injured Valerians with genuine compassion. Your soldiers play with children and share their food. This is not what I expected from Deathworlders. What did you expect? Honestly, I expected you to be conquerors, warriors who would demand payment for your help, or perhaps try to claim the colony for yourselves. Chen leaned back in her chair. Ambassador, can I tell you a story about Earth? Please. There is a disaster response principle we have called the Golden Hour. It means that in the first hour after a disaster, an earthquake, a bombing, a building collapse, the chances of saving lives are highest. After that first hour, survival rates drop dramatically. So we train our first responders to move fast, to take risks, to make that golden hour count. Jakara listened intently. But here is the thing, Chen continued. That principle does not just apply to disasters in our own cities. When an earthquake hits anywhere on Earth, humans from all over the planet send help. Countries that are enemies will still send rescue teams to each other during disasters. Because in that moment, none of the politics matter. There are people buried under rubble who need help, and we have the golden hour to save them. You apply this thinking to alien worlds as well? Jakara asked. Why not? You sent a distress call. People were in danger. The fact that they were not human did not make them less deserving of help. Chen smiled. Besides, we have a saying on Earth. No one gets left behind. It does not specify humans only. Jakara felt something shift in her understanding. The Council has been approaching this all wrong. We saw your combat abilities and feared you would use them for conquest. But that is not how humans think, is it? Some humans do think that way, Chen admitted. We are not perfect. We have had our share of conquerors and tyrants in our history. But most of us learned a long time ago that we survive better when we help each other. Our world tried very hard to kill us, Ambassador. Everything from viruses to hurricanes to predators wanted us dead. The only way we made it was by protecting each other. There was a knock at the door and a human officer entered with a tray of drinks. He set it down and left quietly. Chen poured something dark and steaming into 2 cups. This is coffee, she explained. It is a mild stimulant. We drink it for energy. The Council medical reports called it a poison, but to us it is just a pleasant beverage. Try it if you like. Jakara carefully took a sip. The taste was bitter and strange, but not unpleasant. I can see why the Council was concerned. This would probably cause heart problems in most species. But not in you, apparently, Chen observed. Your species must have some adaptations similar to ours. They talked for another hour and Jakara found herself relaxing. The more she learned about humans, the less frightening they became. They were strong, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But they were also kind, compassionate, and driven by a deep need to protect others. Back on the council station, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from dozens of worlds watched the footage from Theta 7 over and over. The debate was fierce. Some argued that humanity was too dangerous to trust. Others insisted that humanity had just proven they were exactly what the council needed. Councillor Vrexton stood to speak. These humans defeated a major pirate armada in less than an hour. They rescued hostages without a single civilian casualty. They are now rebuilding the colony at their own expense. I ask you all, is this the behavior of conquerors or the behavior of allies? But what happens when they turn those weapons on us? Someone shouted, why would they? Shakara's voice came over the speakers. She was attending the meeting remotely from the Indomitable. I have been with the humans for 2 days. I have walked among their crew. I have watched them work. These are not mindless warriors. They are people with families, with hopes, with a moral code that values life above all else. How can you be sure? Frexton asked. Because I asked them directly, Shakara said. I asked Admiral Chen what humanity wants from the Galactic Council. Do you know what she said? She wants to help. She wants humanity to join the Council as protectors and defenders. She wants to use their strength to prevent situations like Theta 7 from happening again. The chamber erupted in discussion. The idea of Deathworlders as protectors rather than threats was difficult for many to accept. But the evidence was right there on the screens. Humans rebuilding homes, humans healing the wounded, humans playing with children. Finally, a vote was called. The measure was simple. Should humanity be invited to join the Galactic Council as full members? The vote was close, but in the end, compassion won over fear. Humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community. On the Indomitable, Chen received the news with quiet satisfaction. Send a message to Earth Command, she told her communications officer. Tell them we are official. Humanity is now part of the Galactic Council. 3 weeks had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Admiral Chen had returned to Earth for meetings with government officials, leaving Captain Webb in command of the Theta 7 Defense Force. The colony was nearly rebuilt, and relations between humans and Valerians had become genuinely friendly. Some of the Marines had even started learning the Valerian language without their translator devices. It was supposed to be a peaceful morning. Then the distress signal came through. Webb was having breakfast with some Valerian colonists when his communicator beeped urgently. He excused himself and stepped outside to take the call. His expression grew dark as he listened. All human personnel return to ships immediately, he ordered. This is not a drill. We have an emergency situation. Within 20 minutes, the human ships were preparing to depart. The Valerians came out to watch, worried by the sudden activity. The young girl who Webb had given chocolate to on the day of the rescue ran up to him. Captain Webb, are you leaving us? She asked, her large eyes filled with concern. Webb knelt down and put a hand on her shoulder. We have to go help someone else who is in trouble. But we will come back, I promise, and we are leaving Lieutenant Morrison here with a small team to make sure you stay safe. Is it bad? The trouble? Webb hesitated, then decided she deserved honesty. Yes, it is very bad. But that is why we have to go. The girl hugged him tightly, and Webb was surprised to feel his own throat tighten with emotion. 3 weeks ago, these people had been strangers. Now they felt like family. That was the human way. They pack-bonded quickly and completely. Hours later, Webb's ship met up with a massive fleet gathering at the Council's primary military staging area. He was stunned by what he saw. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all preparing for battle, and in the center of it all was the Indomitable, with Admiral Chen back in command. Webb docked and made his way to the bridge. Chen greeted him with a grim expression. Captain, glad you could make it. We have a situation. She brought up the tactical display, and Webb felt his blood run cold. The images showed a Council science station on the edge of explored space, or rather what was left of it. The station was surrounded by thousands of dark geometric ships unlike anything Webb had ever seen. What are we looking at? He asked. They are called the Voidborn Swarm, Chen explained. Ancient machine intelligence. They were responsible for wiping out 3 entire species about 5 centuries ago. The Council thought they were gone, but apparently they were just sleeping. Now they are back and they have destroyed or captured every fleet the Council sent against them. How many ships do they have? Current count is over 2,000, and they are all heading toward inhabited space. Webb studied the display. The tactical situation was beyond bad, it was nearly hopeless. What are our orders from Earth Command? Chen's expression hardened. Earth Command ordered us to evacuate Council personnel and withdraw. They said this is not humanity's fight, that we should not risk our forces on a battle we probably cannot win. Probably? Webb asked. Definitely, Chen corrected. The math is clear. We are outnumbered more than 10 to 1, facing an enemy that has destroyed every force sent against them. Any sane military analysis says we should evacuate and retreat. But we are not going to do that, are we? Webb said it as a statement, not a question. Chen smiled, but it was not a happy expression. No, we are not. I told Earth Command that we are staying. I told them that humans do not abandon allies. I may face a court-martial when this is over, but I can live with that. What I cannot live with is leaving those people to die. She turned to address the bridge crew. Listen up, everyone. I have just committed an act of insubordination by refusing a direct order. Anyone who wants to transfer to an evacuation ship has my permission. I will not order anyone to stay for this. This is a volunteer mission. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then her first officer spoke up. With respect, Admiral, shut up. We are all staying. One by one, every officer on the bridge confirmed they were staying. On ships throughout the human fleet, the same scene played out. Not a single person requested transfer. They were humans from a death world and someone needed help. That was all that mattered. The combined Council fleet moved toward the science station. They had perhaps 400 ships against more than 2,000 void-born vessels. The Council commanders all knew this was likely a suicide mission. But the humans had shamed them into action. If the Deathworlders were willing to fight a hopeless battle to protect others, how could the Council do less? The battle began badly. The void-born ships moved with perfect coordination, like a single organism with thousands of bodies. Their weapons were devastatingly effective, beams of concentrated energy that cut through shields as if they were not there. Council ships began falling within minutes of engagement. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display and made rapid calculations. They could not win through direct combat. The Voidborn were too numerous, too coordinated, too strong. They needed a different approach. All human ships switched to guerrilla tactics, she ordered. Hit and run. We are not trying to destroy them. We are trying to buy time. The human fleet broke formation and scattered. Instead of fighting the Voidborn directly, they darted in and out of combat range, taking shots and then retreating before the enemy could concentrate fire. It was a tactic born from Earth's history of asymmetric warfare. When you could not match your enemy's strength, you frustrated them and wasted their resources. On the science station, researchers huddled in terror as explosions rocked the facility. The Voidborn had boarded and were systematically eliminating all organic life. Then they heard the sound of heavy boots running through corridors and the distinctive crack of human weapons. Captain Webb and his Marines had done the impossible again. They had fought through a Voidborn-controlled station to reach the trapped scientists. Now they were fighting a running battle toward the evacuation point, carrying wounded researchers and laying down covering fire. Move, 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 Webb shouted as his team hustled a group of scientists around a corner. Behind them, Voidborn combat units pursued relentlessly. These were not living creatures. They were machines shaped like spiders the size of cars covered in weapons and armor. A Marine named Rodriguez took a hit protecting a researcher. The energy beam burned through his armor and into his side. He should have gone down. On any other world from any other species, that wound would have been fatal. But Rodriguez was human, with redundant organs and a body that refused to quit. He kept fighting, kept moving, even as his medical display screamed warnings. They made it to the extraction point just as the ceiling began to collapse. Webb threw the last researcher onto the shuttle, then jumped on himself as the doors closed. Through the window he could see Voidborn units pouring into the bay. Go, 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 he shouted to the pilot. The shuttle blasted out of the station just seconds before that entire section exploded. In space, Admiral Chen watched her tactical display with growing desperation. They were losing. Ships were falling faster than they could be replaced. Even human toughness had limits and they were reaching them. Then something unexpected happened. New contacts appeared on sensors. Dozens of them, hundreds, but these were not military vessels. They were civilian ships, Merchants, colonists, transport haulers. Ships from Valerius, from Jakara's homeworld, from dozens of other council species. Jakara's voice came over the communication channel. Admiral Chen, this is Ambassador Jakara. I am bringing reinforcements. Ambassador, those are civilian ships, Chen said. They are not equipped for combat. I know, Jakara replied. But you taught us something at Theta 7. You taught us that when someone needs help, you do not calculate the odds. You do not worry about whether you are strong enough. You just go. These people volunteered. They came because humanity showed them that courage is contagious. The civilian ships moved into position around the human fleet. They could not fight effectively, but they could absorb fire. They could create confusion in the Voidborn formation. They could buy time, it was just enough. While the Voidborn adapted to the new situation, human engineers aboard the Indomitable made a discovery. The Voidborn ships communicated through a quantum network. It was elegant and efficient. It was also vulnerable. Earth had a long history of computer warfare. Viruses, hacks, exploits. Humans had been fighting digital battles for centuries. Now that experience paid off. Human programmers crafted a virus specifically designed to attack the Voidborn network. Upload ready, Admiral, the communications officer reported. Do it, Chen ordered. The virus spread through the Voidborn network like wildfire. It did not destroy them, but it disrupted their coordination. Suddenly, 2,000 ships acting as one became 2,000 ships acting independently. They began firing on each other, misidentifying friends as foes, crashing into each other in confusion. All ships, concentrate fire, Chen ordered. Hit them while they are disorganized. The combined fleet struck with everything they had. Voidborn ships began falling by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Without their perfect coordination, they were just machines. Strong, but not invincible. After 6 hours of brutal combat, the Voidborn suddenly withdrew. They jumped to faster-than-light travel and disappeared into the void. The battle was over.